and thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight I've got another video from my series when you only have half an hour, but I'm going to show you a few extra tips and tricks if you've got a little bit more than half an hour, and I'm also going to show you 4 different ways that you can use products in your stash to do this. So I've got water-based products here. You can use pens, ink pads, powders, gelatos, whatever you've got in your stash that is water reactive or water that can react, water-based, water reactive type of thing. I'm going to use some watercolor card as the top of my card, but you could just use a card base itself. You don't need to have this step, but I wanted to do separate panels so that I could do raised bits if I wanted to. So I'm going to use my Arteza watercolor card for my top panels. I've got a little stamping block here. Anything that will be non-water absorbent will work, any kind of shaped object that you may have. I've got a new stamp set from Melina, a couple new stamp sets from Melina, butterfly themed, and I've also got some new stencils, which these are pretty big. I didn't realize they were so huge. This comes in a set of 10. Really great value for money, and they're massive, so really excited about these stencils as well. So I'm going to share with you a few extra ways you can kind of step up your project. So I'm going to do a very basic project for you, which you can do in half an hour, and then I'm going to step it up and show you how you can do it if you want to add more to your card. So getting started, I'm going to share with you how you can do it with an ink pad. So all I'm doing is swiping the ink pad onto the block. Use as many or as few colors as you want. There is no need to get excited and go for loads of colors. You can just do one if you want. That will work just fine. All you're going to do is ink up the block or whatever object you've got. You're going to spritz it with water. Preferably don't put your card next to it until you've spritzed it with water. You'll see in a minute I kind of get a little bit of splotchy everywhere. Then you just tip it over and press it down on your piece of cardstock. Now, the trick is to let it sit for a little longer, so that could take you over half an hour, but if you've got some other jobs, you could do this and then come back to it. Or you can just pick it up, it doesn't matter. But when you pick it up, don't drop it like that. When you pick it up, you can see that the liquid kind of shifts around a little bit. If you leave it for a bit longer, it absorbs into the cardstock a bit more, especially if it's watercolor card. If you're using standard card, it'll probably just absorb straight away. It might warp your card a bit, but I always think that looks quite cool when you're doing your own handmade card. I've got these Arteza Twimarkers. These are my favorite water reactive markers to use. They blend beautifully, they go on smoothly, and all I'm going to do is just color my block. So I could go to town on this one and I could use 10 colors if I wanted to. It's quite fun when you use a little marker. And I'm just going to spritz it again with water, tip it over, and I leave this one for a few minutes longer to soak into my cardstock. Now, I'm going through all my 4 different ways of doing this technique. Obviously, when you're doing this yourself, you're going to take a lot less time than I have taken because you're going to just pick one of them and go with it. These are the gelatos. Gelatos are water reactive. They're like water-soluble crayon. So any kind of water-soluble crayon that you've got in your stash should work. Just have a go and make sure it is water-soluble. Again, same thing. Spritz it with the water and then bring in your piece of card and pop it down on the top. And then leave it again. If you have time, leave it. If not, pop it straight off and crack on. So I left that a little bit longer. You can see these really cool watermarks on the top. This is my favorite one. I am obsessed with these powders. I have ordered more from Craft Stash. I love them. I'll link everything I can down below for you. Anything I can find, I'll link it down. But I love the powders. The powders are my favorite. I love the sort of wow factor when you spritz them. Check out the color. Now, I did wish I used a bit more purple because the blue is quite dominant, but never mind, you live and learn. I do pick up the block and give it a quick little wipe so I don't put my watercolor card down and have it absorb through the back side of it. And I'm working on a Altenew mixed media silicone mat today because it wipes off really easy and really nicely, and it holds my cardstock in place. But I'll link that down below for you if it's still available as well. This one I left a little while, and you get this gorgeous shine and beautiful color. So here's my 4 panels. These are the 4 different ways that you could do this technique. So again, just use one. It shouldn't take you very long at all. The more messy and rough around the edges it looks, kind of the better. It kind of looks more unique and fun, like you kind of did a little painting or a little print. So it's quite a fun technique to do, and it is quick and easy. So I've got all these panels. Now I'm going to stamp them and decorate them. Now this is something I've done before with you. I'm putting it in my card base, and what I want to do is kind of double stamp my image. So I want my image to look like it's running throughout my card. So I'm going to stick down the card base first into my stamp platform. And originally I wanted to put down both stamps, and I kind of didn't think about that at first, so I'm just going to pop the second one on there and then ink it up and stamp it down. I do a couple presses with my ink just to make sure it's nice and beautifully in black. My ink pad was also running out a little bit, so I had to do it like 2 or 3 times on each one. I did re-ink it towards the end, and it works beautifully again. Now, if you're doing multiple cards, you could just do the same thing. As long as you've got it in your stamp platform all lined up, then you can go ahead and do a whole bunch of batch card making, and it'll all work out nice because it's all going to line up in the same place. So once I've stamped my first image, I'm going to go ahead and put my panel on the top. Now it looks horrible because it looks like you're covering up your beautiful image, but we're going to pop it back into the stamp platform and stamp it again. And then this way we look like we've got continuous stamping, but we've got that kind of broken up front panel of your card because you've got this gorgeous sort of little edge to the panel that's in the middle. Now I'm going to share with you in a bit because you can pop it up with some foam tape and make it really show a bit more. So there's those ones done. Now this one I wanted to try using the stencil and remove some of that color, and it didn't quite work out, so I went and made 2 more panels so I could show you if you want to apply color with a stencil to give a bit more interest to the front of the card. If you've got a little bit more time, then you can do this. This is a step up version. So if you want to step it up and you want to add a bit more, you can come in and use a stencil. And I'll finish off those 2 first cards in a minute. I meant to put that little finished bit towards the front so it was one continuous video, but I kind of forgot. So anyways, we're going to step up this version. So you can 1, stencil it, 2, stamp it. So I'm going to come in with some Lawn Fawn. This is an ink pad I've had in my stash for a little while, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it down. Now, Alina stamps are silicone stamps. They are not photopolymer, so sometimes you can get kind of a splotchy image. If you want that image to get more solid and you've got a photopolymer, not a photopolymer, a silicone stamp, you can take an eraser, one of these ones that's got like a sand eraser, and you can just rub it. I got these ones for, I think it was like 3 for £1 at a stationery store, really cheap. You can get them at like Tesco's, any kind of supermarket store. So all I did was kind of give it a rub on the top, and then I'm using 2 or 3 coats of ink, and you can see it's gorgeously clear on the second round. So you can see the difference between the 2 stamps. So sometimes it pays to sort of give it a little bit of a rub with an eraser just to kind of rough it up a bit, and you'll get a much clearer image. That's if you're struggling. So again, on the other image, I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp under my card and stamp on top of my card. And then I've got this gorgeous little image that can go on the top of the card panel. I have this stamp set here, and I like it because it's got these sentiments that kind of go downward, which works quite nice. So I'm going to stick Get Well Soon at the bottom of this one, and I'm just going to use black again to keep it continuous and keep it same as the image that I've got behind it. And for my other one, I decided to use this stamp set here and just put a sentiment straight through the middle because I thought that pattern was enough as it was. It didn't need too much more. And this is great because now we've got sort of almost a one-dimensional card, or a non-dimensional card, I should say. So here's the first ones that we did, the very first ones. So if you want to keep it simple, keep it within half an hour, just stamp that sentiment in the middle and you are done. It looks gorgeous. However, you can step it up a little bit more if you've got a few more minutes in your time, and you can go ahead and customize your jewels or your gems. Get your alcohol pens out, your Sharpies, your Copics, your Arteza markers, and color in your gems to match your background image. This is a great and quick and easy trick, and I always forget about it, but given I did my video a couple days ago about all my crafty hacks, this is one where I was like, oh, I should probably actually use this one, and it looks gorgeous. I love the sort of blended in colors. Now, if I'd only done these 2 cards and I didn't do the other versions, the stepped up versions, or get carried away and do a few more after this, which you'll see the photos at the end, then this would have been well within half an hour of crafting, because my whole entire crafty session was probably just over an hour, and I did, I think, 6 or 7 cards in total and did a few stepped up versions. So this is a great, quick and easy way to make a nice, beautiful card. Now here's the foam tape I've got from Craft Stash. This is the cheap and cheerful foam tape. It's super sticky and it's great value. I think it's around £1 or something like that. And I'm just going to apply some foam onto the back of it and then stick it down on top of my panel. Now, if you want a bit more wiggle room, you can come in with some glue, stick it on top of the back of your foam, and then it kind of gives you a bit more time to adhere that onto the front of the card. So here you can see it pops up, gives it a bit more character and a bit more dimension, and you could come in and add some gems. So there's the other one that I finished, and I popped that up as well onto some foam tape. So again, adding a bit more interest in the background. Now here's where I got carried away and I tried to do some boy cards. So I have these stamp sets in my stash from Apple Blossom from Craft Stash, and they have quite fun sentiments, and there are several different kind of themes. You'll see my really wonky train in a minute. This one, I wanted to like put a train on the front and I was doing it to the side and I wasn't paying attention. And I should have just faced the panel towards me, because now it looks like my train's coming out of the Harry Potter land and falling out the sky. But anyways, I had a good time, and I made a few more with a different size block. I used a square block, and then I made some square cards, and I did kind of more masculine themed cards. So in the end, I did a total of 7 cards. And I had a really awesome time just relaxing and de-stressing in my office today. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it gave you inspiration and motivation to get in your office or your craft space or your kitchen table, whatever you've got, and use that half an hour and just have a really cracking good time. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday night for some Saturday night crafting. Bye!